Hello, hello. It has been a while since I've posted my research videos here. This is log 5, May, Metacognition, and Memetics. Now, first covering definitions. May, M-E, pronounced May, a Sumerian term that was used to describe the inherent divinity of the structure of civilization, a software blueprint given to man by the gods. Metacognition is thinking about thinking, the moment you step back from a thought to evaluate its validity. Memetics means a selfishly replicating organism that only knows one thing or mechanism, repeating its replication process. Hence the idea of selfishness. Nothing else is regarded but its core function. Test progress. I created a data set to help fine-tune a local llama model to simulate metacognitive functions. The data set produced through recursively executing open endpoints provided by Grok, Google, and OpenAI. The data was sanitized, then saved, fed to the llama model for fine-tuning. I managed to run the fine-tuning process through Google Colab's given GPUs and had a successful run. The model, dubbed May, processes inputs seamlessly on Google Colab. Locally, not quite. It runs, but takes a while. Unfortunately, my resources are limited. The next steps, making the model as agentic as possible. Moreover, laying out the groundwork for self-determined task execution. Rather than simply creating some chatbot assistant, the goal is to create a program that can run without input from users. The idea, get the program to see data, make inferences, and then decide based on acquired heuristic data what it will do next. A complex process, but I do not think or believe high-end resources are needed, just extreme precision. Aid from models and AIs are helpful, prompt engineering and all that shit. All in due time and small incremental steps. I have spent years on this since I started college. Now that I've moved on to my junior year, I am working on condensing all the data and actionable info I have compiled thus far. Explaining memetics. Memetics operates on the premise that ideas, beliefs, and cultural practices behave exactly like biological viruses or software code, evolving and mutating to maximize their own survival and transmission. Originally rooted in evolutionary biology, the field treats a meme not merely as a passive thought, but as an active self-replicating unit of information. In Disinfect Your Mind, L.A. Asher conceptualizes these informational units as mind viruses. Much like a biological pathogen exploits a host's cellular machinery to replicate, or a computer virus hijacks hardware memory, a mind virus subverts human cognitive frameworks. The primary objective of these self-contained instruction sets is not to benefit the host, but simply to force the host's mind into spending cognitive cycles replicating the virus to other minds. The viral framework becomes particularly dangerous when weaponized by centralized entities like mass media, political campaigns, and corporate management structures. These entities act as institutional spin doctors, deliberately engineering complex networks of interconnected ideas known as meme complexes. By targeting fundamental human vulnerabilities such as pre-existing prejudices, social habits, emotional triggers, and anxiety, these engineered memes are designed to slip past standard critical thinking filters and install themselves directly into the human psychological architecture. Once installed, they cloud human judgment, often shifting the host's behavior so that they act against their own personal well-being or logical self-interest, serving instead as a vehicle for corporate or political propagation. To combat this constant exposure to cognitive manipulation, Memetics emphasizes the necessity of defensive inoculation or disinfecting the mind, because mind viruses rely heavily on remaining unseen, disguising themselves as standard social norms or personal rational choices. The first line of defense is rigorous categorization and mapping of incoming data structures by actively analyzing how information packages itself. A host can recognize the underlying behavioral Instructions embedded within media messaging. Disinfecting the mind requires treating our internal cognitive space as a secure runtime environment, auditing the software we allow to run, filtering out intrusive meme complexes, and ensuring our mental processing power is spent on our own autonomy rather than fuel for an external information epidemic. The Sumerian concept of May. To understand the fundamental fabric of ancient Mesopotamian spirituality and governance, we must examine the complex and unique religious concept known as the May, spelled M-E, like the word me. As detailed by Jeremy Black and Anthony Green in Gods, Demons, and Symbols of Ancient Mesopotamia, the May, often appearing in Sumerian texts, represents a collection of immutable cosmic rules and blueprints that govern human civilization. Rather than being abstract moral codes, the May were viewed by the ancients as tangible active properties or objects inherent to institutions, technologies, and behaviors. They formed the very scaffolding of reality, ensuring that the universe operated in a predictable, divinely sanctioned order. The sheer scope of what the May encompassed is staggering, capturing every facet of human existence. Black and Green note that the May explicitly included the functions of kingship, the roles of various priesthoods, truth, descent into the underworld, and even warfare. However, they were not exclusively positive or idealistic attributes. The collection also accounted for human suffering and vices, encompassing things like enmity, falsehood, and destruction. In the Mesopotamian worldview, even negative forces were structured components of the cosmic order, requiring their own May to exist and function within the grand design of the universe. One of the most fascinating aspects of the May is how they were physically conceptualized and handled by the gods. They were often envisioned as concrete objects that could be gathered, carried, worn, or even stolen. According to the dictionary, the May were frequently associated with sacred regalia and divine attire. Deities would wear the May, like garments or crowns, to assert their authority or pack them away like cargo. The physical vulnerability meant that the possession of the May was a central plot point in many myths, as controlling the physical manifestations of the May directly equated to controlling the cosmic powers they represented. This material nature is vividly illustrated in major Sumerian mythological narratives. For instance, the god Enki, who served as the traditional keeper of the May at his water temple in Eridu, is frequently depicted losing or distributing them. In one famous myth highlighted by the authors, the goddess Inanna tricks an intoxicated Enki into giving her over 100 of the May, which she promptly loads onto her boat to bring back to her own city of Uruk. This narrative served a dual purpose. It explains the historical shifting of cultural and political supremacy between ancient city-states, while reinforcing the idea that civilization itself is a direct transfer of these divine rules from the gods to humanity. Ultimately, the concept of the May, reveals a civilization that viewed human progress not as an independent achievement, but as a heavily supervised inheritance from the divine. By establishing that everything from writing and pottery to justice and ritual prostitution was governed by a specific May. Mesopotamian society fostered a deep sense of cultural stability and religious obedience. To live according to the May was to live in harmony with the cosmos. Through Black and Green's foundational documentation, we can see that the May were the essential cultural software that allowed early human civilization to navigate, normalize, and survive the complexities of existence. To conclude, it is critical to emphasize that the work presented here remains entirely experimental, and no exclusive empirical findings have been reached. The conceptual links between drawing parallels between modern algorithmic models, memetics, and ancient civilizational rule sets are current hypotheses and frameworks for exploration, not verified scientific assertions. May represents a highly localized, independent research initiative built to investigate if complex data processing and basic recursive evaluation can be handled efficiently under strict hardware constraints. Moving forward, the objective is to continue refining this custom fine-tuning pipeline incrementally, focusing on optimizing performance, data sanitation, and exploring more precise structured task execution within a small scale environment. Thank you for your time, and I'm open to your feedback and questions.